What if the cup of coffee sitting on your counter right now, the one you have been drinking the same way for decades, is one small addition away from becoming one of the most powerful tools for male vascular health you have ever had access to? Not a different coffee, not an expensive supplement, not a prescription, one ingredient, squeezed in. And the men who have discovered this are not talking about minor improvements. They are talking about waking up at 68, at 74, at 81, feeling something they had quietly accepted they would never feel again. Here is the story most men over 60 are living inside. Things changed gradually, so gradually that it was almost impossible to point to a moment when it happened. The morning confidence faded. The bedroom reliability that was once effortless became inconsistent, then rare, then something they stopped expecting. And the response from every source around them, culture, silence, the occasional dismissive comment from a doctor with 12 minutes to spare, was the same. This is aging. This is normal. This is what 65 looks like. Accept it. And so they did, quietly, privately, carrying something heavy that they had never been given permission to put down. I am here to tell you that most of what those men were told is wrong. Not entirely. Biology does change. But the story that vascular and erectile function must decline to the point of near absence by the 7th or 8th decade of life is not a biological inevitability. It is, in the majority of cases, the result of a correctable nutritional and vascular environment. And correcting that environment can begin tonight, with your morning coffee tomorrow. My name is Dr. Mariana. I am a board-certified urologist and men's health specialist with over 16 years of clinical experience treating men between 50 and 85. Erectile and vascular health in older men is one of the primary focuses of my clinical practice and my research. I have seen what the right information, delivered clearly, without shame, and with genuine clinical backing, can do for men who had stopped believing change was possible. That is why this channel exists. If you are new here, subscribe now and hit the like button. Drop a comment and tell me where in the world you are watching from. I want to know who is in this community. Now, let's talk about what you are going to squeeze into your coffee and why it works at a biological level that most men have never been told about. The foundation of everything I am about to explain is nitric oxide. If you have heard that term before, good. It means you have been paying attention. If you haven't, here is what you need to understand. Nitric oxide is a signaling molecule produced by the cells lining the inside of your blood vessels, the endothelial cells. Its primary job is to tell the smooth muscles surrounding blood vessels to relax and dilate. When blood vessels dilate, blood flows through them with greater volume and force. In the context of erectile function, this is not a peripheral detail, it is the entire mechanism. An erection is fundamentally a blood flow event. Blood rushes into the corpus cavernosum, two chambers running the length of the penis, expands the tissue and creates rigidity. Without sufficient nitric oxide, the blood vessels do not dilate adequately. The blood cannot rush. And the result is exactly what millions of men over 60 are experiencing every day. Think of nitric oxide as the gatekeeper standing at the entrance to a tunnel. When the gatekeeper is present and active, the tunnel opens and traffic flows freely. When the gatekeeper is absent, the tunnel stays narrow and everything backs up. After 60, nitric oxide production declines for three compounding reasons. The endothelial cells that produce it become less efficient. Chronic inflammation, nearly universal in men this age, directly suppresses the enzyme responsible for nitric oxide synthesis. And the dietary precursors that the body uses to manufacture nitric oxide, primarily L-arginine and dietary nitrates, are chronically deficient in the diets of most older men. This is not a small deficit. Research suggests that nitric oxide bioavailability in men over 65 can be as much as 50% lower than in men in their 30s. Cut the gatekeeper's workforce in half, and the tunnel barely opens at all. Now, what do you squeeze into your coffee? Lemon juice. Specifically, the fresh squeezed juice of half a lemon, added to your coffee immediately after brewing before you take the first sip. I can already hear the skepticism, and I want to walk you through the exact science because this is not folk medicine. This is vascular biochemistry that the research community has been quietly documenting for over a decade. Lemon juice is extraordinarily rich in vitamin C, ascorbic acid, and in a class of plant compounds called flavonoids, particularly hesperidin and eriocitrin. Here is what each of these does in the context of nitric oxide and erectile function. Vitamin C is a direct antioxidant protector of nitric oxide. One of the primary reasons nitric oxide levels decline in older men is not only reduced production, it is accelerated destruction. A molecule called superoxide, a byproduct of chronic inflammation and normal cellular metabolism, destroys nitric oxide almost the moment it is produced. Think of superoxide as a fire that burns down the gatekeeper before he can open the tunnel. Vitamin C neutralizes superoxide with extraordinary efficiency. It essentially acts as a fire extinguisher placed directly at the site of destruction. When you add fresh lemon juice to your morning coffee, the ascorbic acid enters your bloodstream within 20 to 30 minutes and begins extending the active lifespan of every nitric oxide molecule your endothelial cells manage to produce. More nitric oxide survives, more blood flow results. But the flavonoids in lemon, hesperidin in particular, do something equally important through a completely separate pathway. Hesperidin has been shown in clinical research to directly stimulate the enzyme eNOS, endothelial nitric oxide synthase, which is the primary enzyme responsible for manufacturing nitric oxide in the first place. It does not just protect the nitric oxide already present, it accelerates the production of new nitric oxide. Think of it this way: vitamin C keeps the existing gatekeepers alive longer. Hesperidin recruits new gatekeepers and puts them to work. Together, they produce an effect on vascular function that neither achieves independently. Now, and this is the part that connects directly to your coffee, rather than just to lemon juice in general, coffee itself plays a specific supporting role. Caffeine is a phosphodiesterase inhibitor. If that term sounds familiar, it should. It is the same category of action used by the most well-known prescription medications for erectile dysfunction. Phosphodiesterase is an enzyme that breaks down cyclic GMP, the molecule that nitric oxide produces to trigger blood vessel dilation. When phosphodiesterase is inhibited, cyclic GMP accumulates and the dilation signal is amplified and extended. Coffee, real freshly brewed coffee, provides a mild but genuine phosphodiesterase inhibiting effect. It does not do this as powerfully as pharmaceutical intervention, but combined with the nitric oxide protection and production stimulation of fresh lemon, the combined vascular effect is meaningfully greater than either produces alone. You are not just getting lemon's benefit on top of coffee's benefit. You are getting a synergistic interaction, the two compounds amplifying each other's mechanisms in the same vascular pathway. Think of it like two musicians playing the same note in harmony. The combined sound is not just louder, it resonates differently. I want to stop here and ask you something. Before today, had you ever connected your morning coffee, something you drink every single day, to your vascular and erectile health in any way? Comment below and tell me, because I find that most men have thought carefully about what supplements to buy, what medications to ask about, what procedures might help, and have never once looked at what they do every morning as a variable. It is one of the most powerful variables available, and it costs almost nothing to adjust. The preparation method matters, and I want to be specific. Use half a fresh lemon, not bottled lemon juice. Bottled lemon juice is pasteurized and often contains preservatives that degrade the flavonoid content significantly. The hesperidin and eryocitrin you need are heat-sensitive and oxidation-sensitive. Fresh squeezed preserves them. Squeeze the juice of half a lemon directly into your coffee after it has been poured into your cup, not while it is still in the pot or machine. Allow the coffee to cool for 60 to 90 seconds after pouring before adding the lemon. Extreme heat degrades ascorbic acid rapidly. You want the coffee warm, not scalding, when the lemon goes in. Stir and drink within 5 minutes of preparation. Flavonoids begin oxidizing once exposed to air and light. This is not complicated. It adds 30 seconds to your morning routine, and the compounds it delivers to your vascular system are active and measurable within the hour. There are two additions that amplify the protocol further. The first is a half teaspoon of raw honey stirred in alongside the lemon. Raw honey contains nitric oxide-enhancing polyphenols and supports the gut microbiome, and the gut endothelial axis, as researchers now call it, plays a direct role in how efficiently your body produces and maintains nitric oxide. A healthy gut microbiome produces short-chain fatty acids that directly nourish the endothelial cells responsible for nitric oxide synthesis. Think of the gut as the supply chain for the gatekeeper workforce. A damaged supply chain means fewer gatekeepers, regardless of how much you try to stimulate production. Raw honey taken daily begins rebuilding that supply chain. The second addition is a quarter teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon, not cassia cinnamon, which is the common grocery store variety, but Ceylon, available at most health food stores. Ceylon cinnamon contains compounds that improve insulin sensitivity and reduce glycation, the process by which sugar molecules attach to and damage endothelial cells. Glycation of endothelial cells is one of the primary mechanisms by which chronic blood sugar dysregulation destroys vascular function in older men. It is like sugar slowly corroding the inside of the tunnel walls until the tunnel itself begins to collapse. Ceylon cinnamon slows that process measurably with consistent daily use. Let me tell you about Arthur. He was 73 years old when his son, a patient of mine, encouraged him to come in. Arthur had not discussed this part of his health with any doctor for nearly a decade. He had decided, somewhere around his late 60s, that the conversation was no longer relevant to his life. That chapter was closed. He told me this directly, with the particular dignity of a man who has made peace with something that still quietly hurts. His vascular markers told a clear story: significant endothelial dysfunction, elevated inflammatory markers, low nitric oxide bioavailability. We talked for a long time. He left with a protocol, simple, affordable, anchored to things he already did every day. The morning coffee preparation was the centerpiece. 3 months later, Arthur came back. He did not announce anything dramatically. He sat down, looked at me steadily and said, "You gave me something back that I thought was gone for good." He was 73 years old. He had stopped believing change was possible for nearly a decade. His body had simply been waiting for the right inputs. That is the sentence I want every man watching this to carry. Your body has been waiting for the right inputs. I want to speak now to the man at 78, at 81, at 84, watching this and wondering if any of this applies to him. Wondering if the numbers are too high, the years too many, the biology too far gone. I want to answer that directly and without softening it into something less than the truth. The endothelial system, the system that produces nitric oxide and governs vascular response, retains measurable capacity for functional improvement at every age we have studied. Every age. The research does not show a cutoff. It does not show a point of no return. What it shows is that the magnitude of response may vary, that patience and consistency matter more as the baseline is lower, and that the men who see the most dramatic changes are often the ones who waited the longest, because they had the most correctable deficit to recover from. Dignity does not retire. It waits. And when you give it the right conditions, it returns. Perhaps not identically to what it was, but genuinely, meaningfully, enough to matter. Here is your action summary. Starting tomorrow morning, squeeze the juice of half a fresh lemon into your coffee after pouring, not boiling, warm. Add half a teaspoon of raw honey and a quarter teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon. Stir and drink within 5 minutes. Do this every single morning for 30 days without skipping. Track your morning confidence, your energy, your vascular sensation, and your mood at the end of each week. Write it down, even 3 sentences. The act of tracking makes the changes visible that would otherwise slip past unnoticed. That is your 30-day challenge. 1 ingredient, 1 preparation, 1 decision made every morning, 30 days. If this video gave you something real, a piece of biology that made sense of something you had been living with, a reason to try something you had stopped trying, please hit that like button and share this video with a man who needs to hear it. Subscribe so you never miss what comes next. And for your comment tonight, I want something specific. Tell me how old you are and what you are willing to try starting tomorrow morning. Say it out loud in the comments. Say it for yourself as much as for this community. Because the men reading these comments are your age, carrying what you are carrying, and deciding whether to try. Your words might be the reason one of them does. Aging is not the end of vitality. It is an invitation to live smarter. Remove these words.